And we are back. Welcome to the next round of Premier League predictions after a week where all the talk really has to be about Manchester City and all the allegations that have been thrown their way by the Premier League. An alleged over 100 Premier League rules breached over the course of the last 12 years. So what do I think is going to happen with them? At this point in time, I'm not really sure. I don't think we're going to see an outcome to this until the summer at the very least. And if they're found guilty, in my opinion, I think maximum punishment should be levelled their way. Obviously, I'm going to say that as a Manchester United fan, I would like to see Manchester City removed from the league just for pure rivalry. But also, the integrity of the sport has been massively called into question if they are found guilty of these charges. So, be interested to see what they do. Retrospective action, I don't think will happen. Obviously, I would love for the Aguero goal to be ruled out from 2012. But I can't see retrospective action being taken on previous seasons. But if they're found guilty, I think they should be at least deducted a severe number of points for the start of next season, if not completely thrown out of the league. But we'll see what happens with that. For now, it's good to get back to Premier League action taking place this season, and we have another bumper weekend ahead. So let's just get straight into it. As always, if you enjoy the series, if you enjoyed my predictions, drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's get straight into it. And we start with a very interesting one straight away. The first game of the weekend is West Ham at home to Chelsea. Now, last week we were accurately predicted that Chelsea would draw at home to Fulham. So, I don't really have a lot of faith in Chelsea right now. I think they need to try and find their new identity, both under Graham Potter, but as a newly built squad with all the money spent, all the new players in. The squad is incredibly bloated. Some players have had to be left out of the Premier League squad. Some players have had to be left out of the Champions League squad. So it's a little bit of a mess at Chelsea right now. West Ham, off the back of a couple of fairly good results, will go into this one with a little bit more confidence. They are, of course, the home team as well. But I've not been overly convinced by them either. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the bog standard. I'm not really sure which way this one's going to go. So I'm just going to go straight down the middle and go for a 1-1 draw in that one. Next up, as you can see, I've accidentally revealed it already. I'm going to go for 2-0 to Arsenal against Brentford in the first of the 3 o'clock kickoffs. I think this is going to be a tough game for Arsenal. I know, obviously, they have lost their last game to Everton, which was a massive result at the time. Although, since that result, every single other team around them has since dropped points, making the Everton result not so bad. Brentford, of course, are playing some very good football at the moment, but Arsenal's home record this season has been absolutely impeccable so far. So, as much as I would like to see Arsenal drop points here, I can't really see it happening in this one. But you never know. Brentford have been causing more than enough surprises so far this season. So, we will see. But for now, I think I have to go for an Arsenal win. Next up is I don't actually know what the derby's called, but it's Crystal Palace against Brighton, a massive rivalry. So, form, to an extent, goes out of the window a little bit in this one, but it's still so hard to look past Brighton. I know they struggled a little bit last week against Bournemouth, which you didn't really expect to happen, but in the end, they still got the result. Crystal Palace still really struggling to find themselves some form of their own. Obviously, the last 20 minutes against Manchester United, they played well, but they were playing against 10 men. I don't see Crystal Palace having enough to beat Crystal Palace having enough to beat Brighton in this one. I don't even see them having enough to get a point. So I'm going to go for a Brighton win. I'm going to go for 3-1. I just think they're playing so well right now. I don't really think it matters who they come up against. They're just going to keep their momentum going and keep picking up results. And speaking of teams that keep picking up results, the next game is Fulham against Nottingham Forest. Kind of like what I said last week, Nottingham Forest's home record is fantastic, but their away record is pretty shoddy. On the flip side, Fulham's home record is also very, very, very good. So, unsurprisingly, I am going to go for a Fulham win in this one. I'm going to go for 2-0. As I spoke about yesterday in the Fantasy Football video, this is a good opportunity for Mitrovic to find his goal-scoring form once again, in my opinion. So, it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. But I think this is going to be a fairly comfortable one for Fulham. And we're going for 2-0. Next up is Leicester against Tottenham. And now, this is a very, very interesting one, in my opinion. Tottenham played absolutely phenomenally to beat Manchester City last time out off the back of some poor performances from them. And then Leicester going to Aston Villa and getting a 4-2 win is a fantastic result as well. So it kind of throws a little bit of doubt over this game. I think it's going to be an exciting one. It doesn't look like Antonio Conte is going to be back for Spurs yet. This is always a game that brings out a lot of goals, so I'm going to go for that again. I'm going to go for 3-2 to Spurs. I think Spurs just have a little bit more quality than Leicester, and like I said, they're going to be boosted by the result against Manchester City last time out, and I just think they'll have just too much for the Leicester defence and will just score more goals than Leicester will be able to the other way. But as I said in the Fantasy Football video, with the return of James Maddison, anything could happen from a Leicester perspective. Look forward to seeing how many goals do go in this one. Next up, it is Southampton and Wolves. And Wolves off the back of a 3-0 win against Liverpool. Southampton off the back of a 3-0 defeat. So big pressure on Nathan Jones in this one. Again, we spoke about it yesterday. He says he's not going to shirk away from his usual ideals anymore. It's going to be a full-blooded assault on Wolves this weekend from Southampton, and I'm very intrigued to see what's going to happen. I'm going to give Southampton the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to go for 2-1 to them, but you know, if they do go absolutely gung-ho crazy, as Nathan Jones suggests, Wolves could hit them on a few counter-attacks and win this one, especially with the likes of Adama Traore available to them. Next up, the final game on Saturday sees Bournemouth taking on Newcastle, and I don't think there's going to be many people surprised that I'm going to go for a Newcastle win to 0. I'm going to go for 3-0. I just think, again, Newcastle playing so well right now. They've got their goal scorers back on form. They're defending very well. And again, I just look at Bournemouth and I just don't see where the threat is. You're looking about one of the worst attacks against the best defence. So I hope I'm wrong. Again, as a Manchester United fan, I hope Bournemouth do get a result against Newcastle. But I just don't see it happening. And I think the way Bournemouth are defending recently, I know we spoke about how they did against Brighton, but realistically, you look at the highlights, Brighton should have scored way more than the one that they did. So I think with the quality that Newcastle have, they're just going to blow Bournemouth away in this one. 3-0 there. On to Sunday, and we start with the repeat of the game from Wednesday night. Leeds against Manchester United, 2-2 at Old Trafford. And I'm going to massively put my biased hat on for this one and think that Erik ten Hag has learnt his lessons from what happened on Wednesday night. We're going to go into this one with a different team, a different mindset, and we should have too much for Leeds. We really should. Look, I'm genuinely concerned about this fixture. I think Leeds are more than capable of winning this game, but I have to believe that that's not going to happen. I have to believe we're not going to drop points twice against the same team in the same week. So I'm going to go for 3-1 to Manchester United. I think without Casemiro, we're still going to be a bit vulnerable defensively. It's unclear whether or not Wan-Bissaka is going to be back in defence as well. So a few things for Ten Hag to think about, but I still think with the quality we have going forward, we should be winning this game overall, which is why I'm going for 3-1. The second game on Sunday sees Manchester City taking on Aston Villa. And obviously, we've spoken about Manchester City at the start of the video. How is all of the news this week going to affect their players? I'm sure it's going to be playing on their minds a little bit. Obviously, these players are going to be thinking about their futures. If Manchester City are found guilty and are thrown out of the league, a lot of these players are going to want to leave and probably will leave. So I'm sure it's going to be playing on their minds a little bit. Obviously, as well, last season, Aston Villa nearly cost Manchester City the title when they went 2-0 up in the final game of the season. But all in all, I think this is a game Manchester City are going to take. And off the back of conceding 4 goals against Leicester at home, you have to fear for Aston Villa defensively against Manchester City, especially if they play to their maximum potential. With all those things considered, I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Manchester City. It was very tempting to go for 4 or 5, but like I said, I just think with what's happened this week, I don't think Manchester City are going to be playing at their absolute best. So I'm going to go for 3-1 to them. And then the final game is the Monday Night Football between Liverpool and Everton, the Merseyside derby. And if you just said to me 6 months ago that going into the Merseyside derby at Anfield, you couldn't say with any certainty that Liverpool were going to win this game, I think everyone would have laughed at you. I think Liverpool fans would have laughed at you in arrogance because why would Everton ever be a threat? And I think even us as fans that, I mean, me in particular, who would love Liverpool to lose, would never be expecting Liverpool to not win this game given the form of Liverpool last season and the form of Everton last season as well. However, Sean Dyche has come in and they showed they can be defensively resilient and keep out, so far this season, the best team in the division with that 1-0 win over Arsenal. And Liverpool have just lost 3-0 to Wolves. Their team is in disarray. Jurgen Klopp doesn't seem to know what players he needs to pick each week. And I just don't really know where this game could go. I have to look at it and believe that if Everton play the way they did against Arsenal, added to the fact that this is a Merseyside derby, so arguably they're going to be even more up for it, I think they can get a result in this one. And I don't know if Liverpool have it mentally right now to go into this game, switch off their current form and go, it's a Merseyside derby, let's go in it with full passion and win the game. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. And I don't think that's massively controversial. Obviously, I would still expect Liverpool to win this game. But as I've said the last few weeks, I'm trying to throw in some rogue predictions as and where I can. And I think this is a genuine possibility. And I don't know how Liverpool fans are feeling. If you are watching and you are a Liverpool fan, let me know your thoughts going into this Merseyside derby. Because are you confident you're going to win? Or are you scared that Everton might just go to Anfield and win, putting you in even more trouble? So we'll see. This is what I'm going for this week. As always, let me know down in the comments your thoughts on my predictions and, of course, your own predictions for this week's game. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you very soon.